Well, I think it's safe to say that Sangal had a bit of a mountain to climb before we got to this map. The vetoes were not the strongest thing in the world for them. This map, they've played twice, they've lost it twice. An 82% win rate over on the side of Sinners makes it feel like this one could be a long old walk home. It's a four-man stack over towards B on the pistol, called in by Sangal, and well, they're going to evacuate entirely based on some utility out towards A, which is all a bit of a ruse. It's all stealth and deception, as instead the B site is taken almost entirely by B-Stick, completely scot-free. I mean, look at the setup from Sangal. There's 3 men in towards Beach, and they have no idea that the B site's been lost.
Yeah, only now has contact been finally made back towards that spot, and Panics takes B-Stick out and at least gives them the number advantage into what is going to be an incredibly difficult retake here, especially with Oskar in position to actually cut off rotations. He lets them go past those, so
flank it.
He'll be on the slow flank. The question is, how quick do Sangal move in now, because his team doesn't have the numbers to hold this off for too long. Never mind, Shock's going to get 2 already. That P250 comes up big. Quirt's up close on the Glock as well, tapping heads, and eventually Oskar's patience will pay off as he joins in and takes a slice of the pie for himself as well. It's going to be a opening pistol round towards Sinners once again. Things started off slow for Sangal on Mirage, and that's what ended up costing them the map in the long run. And on a map here like Anubis, where they really don't have all that much experience, these pistol rounds are even more vital.
That's a bit of a tough one to swallow, that. Oskar only needed to get 1 kill on the flank before it was all over. Sinners, I think, just toying with them a little bit there. Saw Sangal go for a very hefty B stack to start with. Of course, the problem with that is you lose the information very early and you don't know what's going on elsewhere. So any util at all, and suddenly they're dragging a rotation around. All too easy for Sinners to just play with the pieces that are presented to them on the chessboard that is CS2. A force buy this time from Sangal as they get into the second round, and they will be able to take some B control. A 3-man peek gets them a little bit of movement. Panics wants to go up on the boost to see if he can find a little more than that. Sinners are trying to work their way back into it. A double dink through the wall will force the retreat, however. And it's going to force a near complete retreat. Again, look at Sangal. They've evacuated this B bomb site.
Yeah, completely. I mean, I can understand taking risks on weaker buys like this, but fortunately, they've definitely made the wrong one as the bomb's moving back through the spawn over towards this B side of things, where already they have heavily grouped up.
What's the timing? How long do we wait?
I think they're just going to stick to A no matter what here. They'll probably start moving over from maybe an exit or two, either that or just the full-on save once they realize this bomb's in the middle of being planted. So yeah, I mean, it's only LNZ who's nearby. He doesn't have Kevlar, so he might just move in and see if he can take a kill or two. And if he does manage to do some damage, then they might consider it. And yeah, not only does he get a kill through the smoke, he actually lined up Panics, not Panics, B-Stick as well, and done a ton of damage. So that could give them a tiny bit of hope, and it has massively delayed this bomb plant as well.
Time to make a decision. If you are Sangal, of course, forcing into this one. And without a kit, I think, unfortunately, LNZ's efforts are going to be in vain. Does very well, considering the situation, to get what he does. But as Sangal have forced into this one and not been able to bring a kit across, they can't really afford to be throwing their lives away, knowing that the next round would then be a full eco. So instead, let's try rolling those dice again. Let's keep this force buy as it is. The extra little bit of cash injection might even allow them to pick up a kit, and maybe they can give the next one a go. Sinners, however, kept up with 4 alive again, and that economy is going to start building very early for the T side.
Terrorists win.
I mean, again, as you said, at least they do have something to work with here, but Sinners keeping the majority of their players standing with the rifles as well. They just buy back into the couple of AKs, and while they are taking some damage, which could affect them here in the long run, they're managing to keep things pretty secure considering the investment they're up against. We'll see now, though. It was a big risk stack in that previous round with only 1 player in place on B. They still done serious damage, so perhaps if calls work out a little bit better this time around. Unfortunately, no, they line up for Shock and main. He might even have a turret for himself here as he takes that fight against kyuubii. Put the molly down and takes a ton of damage. And besides, yeah, we probably don't want to take this fight anymore. We'll hand an AK away. So falls back, and well, Oskar is actually pushed forward through mid already, so they can just take this towards that A-bomb site. Backstab should come true. It's Quirts who
Nice
actually gets
flash.
the kill, and yeah, well, with that now, the bomb will be getting planted over on A, and as you said, really nicely timed on the flash.
Just working the problem like a team who know how to play this map, right? Shock. You can argue a little fortunate or a little unfortunate from Sangal. All it needs is a pop flash there from the CT side, right? And suddenly that's a very different picture. That's a kill gained, an AK recovered, and a round that might have something more to it, but Shock able to line both of them up. Grabs himself a nice double kill. Youngster, well, he's going to try and get something done late. Knows that they'll be buying into the next round regardless, so an extra kill bonus on the MP9 would be worthwhile, but he's not going to find anything at all. And with all 5 players kept up on Sinners, almost immediately this map starts to become a very daunting prospect. We're a quarter of the way through this first half after this round, and so far Sangal haven't really been able to offer anything in defense.
Unfortunately not able to keep that damage up from the previous round. The scout probably isn't going to be kept in play either. I'd imagine Panics will likely upgrade. They do need to start making an impact now coming into this opening gun round. 3-0 for Sinners already. If they take this next one and manage to head 5-0 with no resistance, then I just don't really see Sangal waking up at any point. As we said, they have very limited experience here on this map, especially in CS2, because one of the 2 games that they have in history, on record is actually from CSGO as well.
It's not a pretty place to be, as you said, though. The buy does come in. Panics does upgrade that scout.
Damage
Orb
already.
in hand. It's ticking away.
Not massive, but such a crucial gun round here. It's not ideal that your players who are trying to get some early openings are just immediately tagged up slightly and kind of shoo it away.
There's a nice response, though. Oskar takes a good lick of damage. Quirts is tagged up as well. He's got into a very advanced position in mid, though. Already through those double doors. Huge amount of map control taken away, and Shock, well, he continues to cause issues over on A. The gift of an opening that's going to start to draw those CT rotations early. Just picking off Panics at the extremities of this map, and with a minute left on the clock, Sinner's in a fantastic position here. 3 players leaning mid. The early control established. They're past the double doors with one. They're in the double doors with another. Offers them splits towards both bomb sites. Just a question of which option they look to take here. There definitely is a right and a wrong answer to that question. sausoL picking up the AWP off the corpse of Panics. Looks a very isolated entity over on A, and as the smoke goes towards exit, you've got to imagine that that is the call that's starting to come through, that A site is to be targeted given the early pick, and sausoL alone in heaven. Rotation is coming in from kyuubii. He manages to nab one on entry. Shot goes down. That bomb's now got to be a little more cautious before it makes its way out. kyuubii joins the AWP on upper, and sausoL continues. A no-scope onto Quirts, buys his team the man advantage. There's huge damage onto Oskar again, and he could be the linchpin to which way this round swings. 2 players working their way out of mid. Those footsteps will be heard. You can see the suspicion in the CT side, and it's a game of timings now as they start to work their way down connector. Oskar spots the back of one. He knows what's coming. He's got to be quick. His teammates don't need him initially, but now it's 2-on-2. Oscar's position potentially known by the sound cues, and it leaves Zedko alone. 1v2, none. sausoL, a magnificent triple on the recovered AWP, and that should, as long as that bomb doesn't tick down too damn quickly, be a first round on the side of this CT side.
Yeah, another second. I mean, if that flank doesn't, I don't want to say die as quick as it did, because obviously he was coming in from behind for quite a while, but if that even lasted another second, if the fight was slightly prolonged, they probably wouldn't have even had time to get on that bomb there in the end, so that is unfortunate. But it's still an incredibly close round from Sinners, and they had managed, they have enough rhetoric to get right back onto the bye here. Only the 2 players managing to survive for Sangal. Sinners have a chance here to break them pretty early on. They'd only get 2,400 loss bonus, which wouldn't be enough to buy in the next round. So there's opportunity, perhaps, out of failure here for Sinners. They can go ahead and quickly convert that loss back into a win, and they want to heavily favour A. And that's understandable. They found the pick around main at least 2 or 3 times already, and that was with just a single player kind of probing this area.
sausoL's playing a rough game here. Utility will go over the top. He has got kyuubii to back him up this time. Smoke goes down. That'll buy some control, and there's a question to be had here. They're going to go through it. Flash pops with the HE combined. sausoL playing in and around the smokes on site. Tries to get something done, but there's nothing for him. kyuubii isolated and dealt with. And just as quickly as they go down, they fight back. Sinners immediately landing a crunching blow on that A site. As you said, even in the 1v1s, they've consistently found picks. With the full force of their T side headed that way, there just was nothing Sangal could do. 3-man save called near enough instantly because the economy, again, as you so astutely pointed out, just isn't there. There's just not the bank for Sangal. They've got one isolated round. They've been gutted again on entry, not able to find anything. Zedko and Quirk, sure, they take some damage, but that's irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. Panics consolation kill at the very least onto a hunting shock, and I don't think we'll see any more than that. That's a very pretty knife, B-stick.
Terrorists win.
It is.
Big fan of that.
I've never actually had one of those. What are they? Stilettos?
Stilettos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. I've only had like all the old school knives pretty much at some point. Not the newer
Subtle
stuff.
flex from Dean there, in case anyone was wondering.
They weren't like super expensive ones or anything. You'd just get bored of the animation and trade to another one, you know?
Yeah,
If you had one, you could have most of the other ones. So. 4-1 though, Sinners came swinging back, as we said, probing what looked to be a weaker A-bomb site. That definitely was the case as they traded nades. Fortunately, the damage heavily favoured the T side as Shock barely took any in return. His sausoL right in the face. So, they'll be again playing pretty heavy towards this A side of things. Not quite as quick on it though, they are making a little bit of noise, so I was expecting perhaps some assistance to be called in, but for the moment sausoL is still alone. He has a quick rotation that can come from mid, sure, there's a molly even there that can be tossed in if needed, but the actual commitment could come through pretty quickly with a very long rotation needed from that B-bomb site. And here we go, Sinners are getting ready to move forward. All of them again just grouped up in main. And sausoL's going to have to put up a massive hold, and he's so low already. It's a single bullet from Shock to put him down. kyuubii actually manages the 2 kills before he gets dropped, so that's a bit of a miracle that keeps his team in this round.
How hard do they want to commit is the question. 3-on-3 after plant situation, a little bit of utility for the T side, and that goes straight towards main where 2 players were looking to flank. Youngster and LNZ, they both have HEs here, so they can look to pop this smoke. You can see Zedko's aware of the possibility. Instead, Youngster hoping to just play a timing here. Utility goes over the top. Zedko will look the wrong way at the critical moment. Youngster gets a freebie. 2-on-3 now. Oskar able to find a response onto LNZ, but they're both isolated inside of the site. He's got no idea where to look, and Panics picks his man off, but they've got no kit, and that's not enough time left. They make the retake happen, but the clock is just against them. Not getting it done quickly enough. If they had a kit, I think they would have been on for it. Youngster actually picks up LNZ's kit on the exit. It was in main, and the one pick that Oskar got was onto LNZ. It was onto the man who could have pulled the defuse off. It's the finest of margins again. Last time it favoured Sangal, this time it favours Sinners. Ouch.
Yeah. I mean, every round here has come out incredibly close, though. I'm surprised Sinners have any money on anyone to be able to buy again. There's like 2 players who could maybe afford to buy if they were to lose this round. And that just shows that Sangal have been bringing this down to the 1v1s, 2v1s and such in every single round. Unfortunately, it's Sinners who are edging it slightly more so than not, as a ton of molly damage was done on the kyuubii there. That was a bit unfortunate. The spread, a little bit different than it used to be, of course, on those Molotovs. Gotta get used to a sausoL, though. He actually finally picks up that pick around A main. Had played aggressive, of course, early on in that previous round up towards that area, but only with an M4, so this time he's willing to give it a bit more of a peek. And the secondary up over towards the B-bomb site also finds success, and they haven't even given away that player that's tucked in up close yet. So what looks like it is going to be the eventual B hit is being shut down before they can even get ready to move forward. Smoked off still towards main. I like that they forced the issue there towards the underpass. These things did actually spot that player over the smoke, unfortunately not for long enough, and then he eats a nade. Not a ton of damage, but enough to warn him away.
That's much better from the CT side of Sangal. Just a little more proactive in critical areas, right? They push main with an AWP on sausoL. That gets the initial pick. Then willing to re-aggress into E-Box. Grabs them some more damage. Having some confidence in those individual plays. It's tough when it's not a map you play a lot. It's not a map you've got the drills on, but it's critical if you're going to make something of it. LNZ, an isolated fight in mid. Still manages to go 1-for-1, however. And with 18 seconds left, Quertz is left with a decision to make here as to how he wants to play this one out. His footsteps will, of course, be heard. He's going to start pre-firing some corners, hoping to draw a fight. sausoL should be ready and waiting. Misses the first shot, and that's going to bait Panics right in. They can't afford to lose both of these AWPs. It will be one for now. And there's not really anyone in range to pick up the secondary. So as much as, you know, they do lose the round, it's a couple of late kills. It's an AWP dropped as well. So you can see sausoL's going to have to go back onto the rifle. That double AWP setup that netted them their second round won't be coming out again for Sangal. And the buy for Sinners isn't too pretty either, Dean.
No, as I had said, it was only really Quertz and Zedco that had built any sort of economy over that initial stretch of rounds that Sinners had taken for themselves. So it is a force. They had a double eco, I think, on towards a couple. So they decided, yeah, we'll go for it. The economy's still low on Sangal. They're just going to charge straight into B. And with, again, that aggression in towards the underpass, this time they find the bomb site itself completely clear. Monster catches Zedco in the background, pushes through alongside his teammate and is willing to die as long as that trade's in play. And it does work in their favour. LNZ, I think, 8 and nade afterwards, so some damage at least was going to return. But Oscar's aggression, I was going to say, finds him 2 opponents. Doesn't even spot the second one before sausoL already wins out that fight on the AUG. And well, now we've got a 4-on-2. And as you can see, Sinners just have to kind of wait this out, hope to take the fight and see if they can trim the numbers down before going for that bomb plant.
Yeah, they've left themselves in a really rough position here by not getting that plant down early. They're in trouble. Quertz, though, drags it back and gets it all! All 4 kills. Okay. He picks off 2 towards Speedway, 2 towards the E-Box. Quertz, a one-man wrecking ball. And that's a 2v4 conversion. Those are the kind of rounds which, if you're Sangal, you cannot afford to be losing.
No, after just winning 1 round as well, it's just keeping them in horrible territory. Not only economy-wise, but also mentally. If you can never mentally get yourself into the game, then it really does become difficult to find any sort of flow. They're going for the eco at least. I mean, it's just the excess cash being spent. Some pistols, Kevlar, the M4 and the Youngster, of course. He's been playing a pretty decent series so far. I think he was towards the top of the scoreboard back on Mirage for them. I do recall the round where he had that sausoL AK, for example, and was able to get quite a bit of work done. So he needs another similar round here, but at the moment it looks like, again, they just don't really have the experience here on Anubis to compete with the likes of Sinners.
I mean, I was having a look, and it is a very young Sangal roster, this one. Average age 20, 21, somewhere around there. Much, much younger than Sinners, and I think that inexperience, both on an individual basis and a team basis, is starting to rear up.
I wonder if that helps with adaptability, though, being younger.
I mean, there is definitely an argument to be made that way. This is a nice setup from the CT side, but they need to hit their shots, and they just don't. They try and bait in Panics on that Deagle, but it's just not to be. 3 quick kills, and that's a demolition job. The half buy, should we call it, gets absolutely no purchase. Youngster, a little unfortunate there, I have to say. The ideal situation is you get that rifle involved early. Instead, Sinners dodge it entirely. Not really through any plan of their own, just by hitting the right site at the right time. And then when you're the last man alive and you've just fallen off a boost, it's difficult to get anything. So 7-2. I mean, there's 3 rounds left in this half, and Sinners will be looking to clean sweep it. It's going to be the buy again. There's some big decisions to be made here, because of the 2 rounds that Sangal have won, one of them was with the double AWP, and that was their most convincing by a long way, but they can't afford it again. sausoL instead opts for the 4A1 to get a better utility behind it. Eyeing up kyuubii to see if they pull a kit out as well, but they're not going to, and that could be absolutely critical, because both the rounds that they've had real success in have been looking like, at the very least, retake scenarios. They've had a couple of very close ones where not having a kit has stung them, and this time they can't afford it.
We'll see maybe something a bit more aggressive, apart from the bits of aggression I suppose they've given us over towards B and around A main. We haven't seen much being attempted, even a peek towards mid with a deeper smoke to here through the window. And along those lines for now, though, I don't think they're throwing anything too crazy out. Falling back after an initial bit of utilities tossed around mid. There's the op aggressive towards A main again, of course, but really they're just waiting for Sinners to make that initial play.
It's a nice exchange of util for the T side, though. You look across, Youngster's got nothing. There's only a handful of smokes remaining. Panics will be cut off his first angle of choice. Shock just selling the fake here as the bomb starts to work its way round towards that B site. Making his presence known with a couple of nice pre-fires, and it does mean that Youngster and LNZ are cut off from support lines over on B. You look at kyuubii, the mid player, he's gone to hunker down on A alongside Panic and sausoL, and it is just going to be on these two lads, Youngster and LNZ. Both out towards the speedway. There isn't a smoke to cut them off just yet, so this cross is still fraught with danger for the time being. Now the shots start to ring out. They start to realise the issue, and they have to take the fight. Perfectly executed. Quertz and Zedko with one apiece. And the problem for Sangal, they just keep mounting up. They just don't seem to have a read on what is going on. CT aggression on Anubis is hard. Don't get me wrong. But there needs to be some kind of a read, some kind of information play coming off of them, because at the moment, they're playing entirely reactively. You see it in that round. You know, the utility goes out towards A. They gamble a third rotation on towards that A site. It doesn't pan out, and that's all the info in the world they've got. They leave Youngster and LNZ isolated on an island on Speedway and essentially say, look, if you don't get the kills we're saving, the round's gone. And that's just not the way to be playing this one. They're going to look for the save here. Shock is on a bit of a hunting mission. We'll hope that maybe he can take something away from them. The CT's relatively sheltered, but kyuubii looks the wrong way, and that just opens it up. 2 freebies for Shock. And I mean, at that point, you may as well have gone for the retake, because you only saved the one.
Yeah, once his teammate went down, I'm not sure why sausoL was so
keen to peek.
Yeah, why you want... Normally, yeah, you want to get a trade on a situation like that. You want to peek as soon as your teammate dies so they don't have time to reset that spray, etc. But there was like a second left. The bomb had already pretty much exploded by that point. Or was in the middle of exploding. So he stayed tucked in. He probably would have lived. They'd have an M4 alongside that up. He maybe even could have dropped the weapon. Panics could have dropped an M4. And they likely would even be on a buy right now instead.
See, this is nice. They've pushed into B main. They've taken the control, posted up Youngster, so they can start to play more proactively on the rotations. You can see LNZ working his way around to the A site. The problem in this one is the A site is just an MP9 and a Deagle. As you said, if they'd been able to buy into this one, if they got the money to have 2 rifles, I'd back them. But instead, this one starts to look like a disaster class. B-Stick has managed to pick one off out towards B, and that's actually going to call this hit off entirely. Working their way back around. They are going to fall into the AWP of Panics. A couple of trades come in, and suddenly this one maybe not as easy as it seems. That pick perhaps luring Sinners into a false sense of security as they look to execute onto B. The Molotov misses, and they're committed at this point. Panic's a missed shot. Will allow Quertz to get out. oskar continues to find purchase as he deals with sausoL on the backstab. And that will be the bomb plant. This one, well, you may as well give it a crack with LNZ at the very least. Throw that Deagle in and see if he can find something. He's had some good impact with it at times, but oskar is feeling it on the AWP. Grabs another, leaves Panics in the 1v3. The flick isn't quite connected. And that AWP will have to try and back away. Will have to try and run for all he's worth, because there's 1 round left in the half, and Sinners can buy again. So they may well as well throw the kitchen sink at trying to take this AWP away. And that's exactly what they're doing. B-Stick is charging his way down middle. Panics does look like he'll get away with it, though.
Should do. B-Stick moving in slowly. I mean, if he is gonna run, he'd be making enough noise that Panics could just look back in the other direction. So he should be okay. Although the bomb right now could be covering it. He's coming in above. Didn't go for the peek. Oh, okay, there we go. Did have to drop. I don't think he dropped down. I think he went down the stairs, right? If he dropped, he would have been there a lot quicker, and I think he would have caught him off guard. I was wondering exactly how that was playing out, because before the swap, it looked like he was ready to jump over the wall. 9-2 in the end, though. The weapon, the operator at least, is going to be saved. They get a secondary one as well. We've seen this before. It was one of the rounds where they found success. They're set and picked up their second round, I believe. And they're desperate now to put a third one on the board before this half ends. Either way, though, they're going to have a very difficult T-side ahead of them.
They need something, a little bit of a confidence booster just to land a blow before the halftime. sausoL on that secondary AWP, he's done a lot of good work. And he's posted up towards A main here. There's going to be a lot of bodies headed his way, but he's got support on the rotations. This time, Panics and kyuubii in decent position to support as the util comes over the top. First shot lands for sausoL. Trade will come through from Quirts, but there's the support lines being ran. Panics has worked his way into a very off angle inside of this site, but he can't hit the flick. Punished. There's kyuubii next up. We'll be able to find one through the corner of the smoke. LNZ has dealt with the flank. And this one now feels very viable. Oskar desperately low on HP. He's waiting for his teammate to strike on this flanking play. It's Quirts trying to time his way through the smoke, but not to be. It's a third, a much needed third as Sangal fight back. A nice quick halftime, and we are back into the action now. Anubis has been known as a T-sided map, but it's been leaning back towards the median as of late, and the pressure really on the shoulders of Sangal to make something out of this round and get themselves off to the right start here in the second half. It is going to be a split. Looking for that A site early. The smokes from the CT side just buy them an extra half a second, however, and the rotations start to come in. The backstabs start to come in. Oskar and B-Stick working their way out of B. leave themselves in a little bit of trouble. And oskar, well, he wants trouble. He fancies his chances in this fight. The jump peek from kyuubii panics his man. And the man advantage is established. A little bit of chaos, a little bit of carnage, but it works out well for Sangal. They buy themselves the 3-on-4 and an opportunity to start this second half the right way.
Yeah.
Everything slows down.
Peek there from Shock. Almost getting dropped by the P250. Gets a bit of info though. Spotted at least 2 of those players around mid. Knows one of them is still in that position as well. And it should give them a bit of an idea that it's likely to be in the direction of B at some point here.
He's going for the play as well. He's going for the push. Shock's all the way up mid here, and he's been read by kyuubii like a book, a freebie.
Madman.
That leaves Quertz in what is surely an impossible position here. He's going to go for a peek, try and find something, but sausoL knows he's just got to stay alive. He's just got to buy time. The flashbang goes over. The round is done.
Yeah, Zedko tries to push through. If he got that first kill quickly, he might have had a small chance perhaps at getting in there and catching the player coming off the bomb plant. Unfortunately, that doesn't quite work out. It's going to be a 4th round for Sangal, a desperately needed pistol round win as well. And that should give them a chance to find the 5th round without really much of a challenge, I wouldn't imagine, here from Sinners. I don't think they'll be investing anything at all if they want to get that buy in the next round. There's a flash for B-Stick, that's all. That'll give them a chance to at least do some damage with these USPs. Looks like they're going to stack it either towards mid or A. Yeah, it looks like mid.
Wrong call, unfortunately. I think they have actually heard something here. Because they've called off that mid play. And initially were thinking about going towards A. I think they must have heard a footstep in the canals. But now with the Molotov going out with LNZ on that MAC-10, drawing some sound cues, drawing the information out towards B, it's going to pull these Sinners boys right into the belly of the beast here. MAC-10, the weapon you really don't want to be dying to. As LNZ works his way out onto this B site, spots out one. And surely any second now, sausoL will call that A site is indeed clear and the bomb can make its way back. But instead, it's actually heading towards E-Box and heading back towards this fight on B. They want the kills. They want to get straight into this one. Pop Flash comes out to try and get the pistols into a position to do something. Quertz gets one, but it's very quickly mopped up. Efficiently managed by Sangal. And now we get to the interesting stuff.
Interesting stuff. That's going to be one way to put it. And it's a slightly limited buy still for Sinners, of course. The utility could be a lot better. It doesn't look like they have a kit in play either, so that could be an issue if it comes down to a retake. So I think they'll probably want to try and ease some pressure early on, see if they can get an early pick and play off some sort of aggression, perhaps. We'll see. What is the early play? 3 over towards B, maybe expecting a quick rush. Go for that double peek in towards water. Really being given anything though, it's a fairly standard default at the moment from Sangal.
Dangerous game, Zedko. Already taken a lot of damage through the smoke, needs to be cautious. Sangal, as you said, happy to play this one passively in the opening moments. Just starting to work their way into some map control, and Sinners have got to start making some decisions here. That early 3B lean hasn't netted them anything positive, so got to start working the problem elsewhere. And all the while, Sangal are starting to work their own issue. Out towards A, Shock forced to deploy his smoke, and over the top of it, very nearly spotted. kyuubii, meanwhile, deals with Zedko in mid. And this round is starting to splinter for the CT side. They're now split 2-2, isolated. With kyuubii locking down any potential rotations. Quertz does well on the swing to get at least one and try and drag his team back into this. But they have got absolutely no util now. This is all on the fights. And Panics, meanwhile, lurking outside of this B bomb site, has got a full belt to try and make this play work. Double smokes go out to lock out the opening angles. Flash over the top. And here comes the execute. Quertz has worked his way into Goblin, giving himself some kind of an angle to work with. The Molotov will flush him out, but he grabs another before he goes and keeps his team in this on the 3-on-3. Shock, though, caught on the rotation timing. And again, that extra man, that extra little bit of presence starts to pay off, but a quick play unlocks the site. There's no kit. B-Stick has got to go for the full 10 seconds. They've heard kyuubii in towards E-Box. He sprays down one, but it won't quite be enough. oskar with a slither of health remaining gets his man. And Sinners somehow survive the 4v5. Yet again, they have been so good at converting those across this series.
Yeah, no, they've been edging out the clutch rounds time and time again, especially the first, like, 6 or 7 rounds of this map as well. They were all super close, as we were saying, down to 1v1s, 2v1s and such. I think oskar was 19 health already before that fight even right there, so if he hit that one bullet on the spray transfer, that goes the other way, and Sangal are sitting at a 6-9 scoreline instead and have control of the economy. It's such a close round that puts Sinners in a prime position now to potentially send this over the finish line. As we can see though, their buy isn't quite perfect. They've got 3 MP9s in play. Sangal are actually working with a slightly better weaponry as Panics beats the molly, is willing to take those burns in order to open things up, and well, Shock just was not ready for it. That's one of the MP9s already out of play.
Another 4v5 for Sinners to contend with. A little bit of magic from Panics. It's what we've come to know this Sangal roster for in times of old, right? It's that T side, that little bit of magic, that slight unknown edge. Has always separated them. Nade's going towards A. Just hoping to draw a reaction, and that's exactly what they get. The Molotov goes down from the CT side, and again you see it for Sinners. Very limited in their util. One molly, couple of HGs and a flash. It's nothing pretty. oskar, though, takes a brawl in towards mid. Pre-fire on pre-fire. He gets the better of kyuubii, and that buys the 4-on-4. A huge amount of damage found onto sausoL as well. Information gathered as Panics once again is looking to step up and be the hero. Picks off Zedko. And that buys yet more time. You can see these rotations from Sinners. They don't know what they're looking at. They don't know where to look next. For now, they have called the stack correctly. Quertz and oskar are in the right place. But it is going to be a 2-on-4 as this push starts to come in. That Molotov is going to force oskar out into the open. He's not got the util to deal with it. It doesn't quite spread enough, so he'll stay alive for how much longer? Quertz plays the back of the site. Bomb plant looks to come in. oskar looks for the info on it and walks into the spray. Quertz next up. He's been a hero on this site before. He's got 1 so far, but he needs so much more than that, and he's lost all support. A one-man army in the 1v3, but he's just not got the util to settle this fight. Can't isolate those 1v1s. He's trying to play around the back of the site, but nobody's giving him an inch. sausoL low on HP, sure, but he'll still find the kill. It's 6 for Sangal, and their T-side romp continues.
Back to life again. Just a back and forth at the moment. It just seems like Sangal overall in this game woke up a little bit too late. Their eco at least comes in, so they should have a 7th round without too much challenge. Yeah, I mean, they can still get it done for sure. I mean, they haven't given themselves any room for error really to be made at this point, especially since they still aren't building up any economy. If Sinners do get a decent buy and win out 1 with the economy currently as it is, Sangal would be broken immediately, so they do need to ensure that this is a cleaner round so that they can start building up some sort of economy, and there we go. Only 1 player being dropped so far, a spray down outside of B main, and the last player over on the A bomb site isn't in position to really do anything about this bomb just being walked onto B and planted. So they are taking their time, maybe being slightly overly cautious considering what they're up against. They do have 3 players already grouped at this point.
Better safe than sorry, as they always say. It's perhaps worth noting at this point that Sinners do have a 63-37 split, T-side favouring on this map. So there is very definitely a little bit of a skew in their numbers. And as they head towards the CT side, that will be playing, I'm sure, in the back of their minds as that gap narrows down to 3, that their CT side has traditionally been where they've struggled. Sangal at the moment finding a nice little vein of form to try and sit in.
Again, the utility is decent for Sinners, but it's not all there. They've kind of spread it out. They've got their smokes and their flashes, but they don't have 2 flashes on anyone. They don't have nades on anyone but E-Stick and oskar. No mollies either, so in terms of late round holding off those bomb sites, it will not be an easy task.
Might not have the late round here.
Yeah,
Sangal looking to up the pace.
Smoke. Flashed in. It
Towards
doesn't
B.
quite catch him.
Oh, timing's going to be everything. Be able to trade 1-for-1. Beastic is so isolated. Does well blind to even get one kill.
Oh.
Missed shot from oskar. Now he's in trouble. Pushed out of E-box. LNZ can't find his man. That was the kill to get. Goes awry, and the man advantage swings back the way of Sinners. Sangal looking to up the pace here, but it's left them in a little bit of trouble. Youngstar is trying to hunt oskar around the edges of this smoke, but oskar's nailed him through it. Couldn't see a damn thing. Panic's able to grab at least one in response, but it's a 1v2 for him now. And there is a flank slowly but surely working its way in through main. This is a game of reads. Panic does have an idea of what's coming, and he nails his man. 1v1. Youth versus experience here. oskar in towards Temple. Panics. Looks to retreat on out. Manages to get his way into the E-box. Just sneaks out of that first angle. There's no kit on oskar. He's got to take this fight sooner rather than later, and Panics is now beautifully presented to win this 1v3 out. oskar is going to have to swing this issue, goes slowly into it, and Panics has nailed it. A 1v3, he drags Sangal kicking and screaming back into the fight. 18 kills to his name in 18 rounds. Top of the server, and what a way to do it.
Okay, yeah. Panics is having a fantastic performance. He's had a lot of opening kills as well, especially around over towards A main when they were on that CT side, so he has been incredibly valuable so far to his team, and it's actually Sangal who call in the pause. They're like, yeah, cool. Panic's got a ridiculous 1v3 clutch. Let's try calm down now and make sure that we don't have to rely on another stupid clutch needing to be brought out for us to keep ourselves in this game. Again, though, not up against a lot. Pistols, some Kevlar, that's all Sinners are able to afford for now. And slowly but surely, things are starting to fall apart for them. If they lose this next gun round, then Sangal are going to be putting themselves into the lead, and we'd see Sinners with maybe one more full investment before things could be wrapped up already. It is worth noting, even if we get towards Ancient, it's statistically not a fantastic map for Sangal, but it's definitely better than Anubis looked, so if they can get it done here, they could definitely get it done on Ancient.
Comes through the smoke, trying to give Zedko something to work with, but kyuubii and Youngstar are very ready for it. Smoothly dealt with. And this one again just feels like it's going to slide on by the CT side without too much resistance. Gap really starting to narrow now. I'm looking at the round distribution for Sangal, and while it wasn't pretty, you know, we spoke at the last round of the first half when it went from 9-2, 9-3 rather than 10-2 about getting that one round, that little extra bit of something, right, to give you faith that it's possible, and that's exactly what they did, and it's working out brilliantly here. This should be a 9th for Sangal. One round, all that Sinners have been able to post on the CT side thus far. As Quertz and oskar just looking for exits, looking for damage here. Shouldn't be too much, however. sausoL looks alive to the threat. Quertz just lurking around that speedway, hoping someone overextends, gives them an angle. Second smoke goes up. oskar's wondering where he is. Has actually let a man slip through the back lines as well as Panics picks off Quertz. oskar is left, and that firing gives away his position. There's a man looking to flank him out here, and LNZ will have a freebie. All 5 players kept up. The economy blossoming beautifully for Sangal. Not in the same way we saw for Sinners, right? On Sinners' T side, there was a lot of close rounds, a lot of tightly kept moments. This one has been much more routine.
Yeah, I mean, you did say the map has tended towards the T side, but I wasn't expecting Sangal to come alive in
this manner.
Yeah, in this fashion is exactly how I was going to put it. This has been great resurgence of life on a map that we didn't really think they'd have it in them. The CT side looked super stale. We thought, okay, the T side can only really get harder for them now. It looks like they've been forced into making the calls, and the calls just keep on working out. And why wouldn't they when you have players beginning to pop off like Panics and kyuubii are, for example. Youngstar and sausoL are having good rounds as well. All around, Sangal finding success as they probe deep in on mid this time around. Zedko's aggressive towards the doors right now. He does have some assistance there as well in the back, as you can see from the upper. And I think they've realised that this is likely the bait and switch going on. The flash through, it works for Zedko. Not quite able to get the second kill though, as he does a ton of damage to Panics and leaves him low. So I'd say a worthwhile trade for now.
Problem is, it's the AWPer. Of all the players who you might not care so much if they're down low, the AWPer is definitely one of them. Oskar and Panic's exchanging flicks, neither quite able to connect to the issue, but it's drawn the rotation. Look at the reaction from Sinners. Quertz has worked his way towards mid, and meanwhile that bomb slowly but surely rotating out towards B, where B-Stick, who's been having a very quiet game, strikes an isolated figure. Timing on these rotations could be everything. Quertz at the very least has made his way round, but Oskar is looking to press the issue further, and Panics is ready for it, picks his man off. That'll force a reaction in towards mid. You see it from Quertz here, and now B-Stick once again is going to be left alone. The one-man army out towards B. Quertz smoked off of his angle. B-Stick with it all to do, and he opts to swing, gets a lot of damage done, but again, the kill's just not quite forthcoming. Quertz next up to chance his army. We'll get LNZ for free. And there's two players really low on HP here. He grabs a second. sausoL finally there for the trade, but it buys Shock so much room to work with. Reload comes out. And the time, I didn't even notice the time, but it's gone too damn low. They deny the bomb plant and they get the round. How has that happened for Sinners?
Yeah, there was 11 seconds as he got that first kill on the bomb planter. Then he grabs the second one just about through the edge of the smoke with like 7 or so seconds left and just tucks in. He doesn't even try to take that next fight really, because he knew if he wasted a couple of seconds, the other player was still deep over towards main. He couldn't be getting the bomb while that other player is trying to kill him in the corner. So yeah, he got it done on time alone. I think it was Shock then that was left alive in the end, was it? He just tucked in and didn't give anything away.
I didn't even notice.
But it's such a close round, and you can't count on winning them like that either. So Sinners are probably still sweating.
I mean, much like me, you've got to imagine Sangal are just tunnel visioned on it, right? They're in a good situation. They've got the kills. They're thinking, right, we work into this B site. At worst, the plant is traded 1 for 1. But just by waiting that extra half a second, the CT side almost baited the idea that they'd evacuated B in the way we've seen Sangal do, right? So LNZ thought he's got that bomb down freely. He goes down, and then suddenly everyone's low HP. So a little fortuitous spray grabs a second. And then that clock is the ultimate enemy of the T side. Miracle round for Sinners. Can they find more? Panics boosted up this time as the pressure is going to be applied in towards mid. Zedko only with an MP9 to work with, but he gets his kill. Flashed in. Panics will be able to trade it. An MP9 trading a rifle is not a bad result, and Panics just continues to tear up house. Oskar should have had his timing there, should have had his man. Instead, he's punished. Re-aggression over towards B does pay off for Quertz as he finds his man, but it leaves Shock. He was the hero of the last round, just courtesy of staying alive. This time, he is very lonely on A. He hears the footsteps outside as well, but he knows he's got Panics to deal with. He knows there's a man slowly but surely working his way down the connector, and LNZ, with a huge amount of damage, gets the critical kill and surely gets the round. Nothing B-Stick can do. It's a 10th for Sangal, and another isolated moment of success immediately pushed back by the T side.
I mean, we keep seeing the initial trades and such going fairly back and forth. It's late round that Sangal just keep absolutely running over the defensive Sinners. They find these holes after breaking it down, and again are just making perfect calls time and time again. And it helps, as I said before, when you have the likes of Panics just popping off on that up. 24-7. What a game he is having. Sangal up to 10, and I mean, at one point it was, what, 9-3, I think, even?
Yep, 9-3 at the half.
This is a bit crazy.
Sinners just haven't had any control on this CT side, right? They've had isolated moments of magic, but at no point...
Magic or madness?
Bit of both.
Yeah.
You know, you've won one round courtesy of the clock and 1 round courtesy of a 1v1, if I'm remembering correctly. So, you know, it's not been smooth sailing whatsoever. Pressure's on for the Sinners as they use their first time out.
Not even sure they've been sailing. They've been trying to, like, doggy paddle the boat. Just not going anywhere.
Blowing air into the sails and hoping they move, right? It's just not looked pretty. 3,400 loss bonus will sustain a good amount of firepower here, though. And as much as we haven't seen it in this series, as an overall trend, the pistols have been doing work in CS2. They've been finding a lot more than you perhaps expect them to. Beestick manages to save himself an AK-47. Quirtz goes to the MP9, which again is one of those weapons that we haven't seen so much of in this series, but overall trends have been strong for it. So there's definitely some potential in this round.
Yeah, I mean, it was always a go-to. It's a weapon you can use while kind of on the move as well. Obviously, you still need to use your stutter stepping a little bit, but with the peeker's advantage, as you said, it's definitely one of those stronger weapons for up-close fights. sausoL tucked in, catches Shock off guard, as he was hoping for some crazy plays outside of A, being flashed over by his teammate, but the player up close, he was able to avoid the effect. Quirtz on an MP9 on up close here to panic still.
No.
Might get himself a kill. It won't be expected as the flick is missed, but there's a second right in behind them. LNZ was ready to ensure that that op would not be getting recovered. And Oscar's about to be flanked out from Youngster. Well, he actually doesn't peek, but he wants to. Could at this point just walk in main, and yeah, they haven't pinned down. If he goes back out the other door, it's a free kill for Youngster. Never mind, what a shot from Oscar.
Shot. Needs a lot more though. Hell of a lot more, and he's aware of it. He's going to be flanked out now from Temple. Does look to expect it, but sausoL is playing a little smarter than Youngster. Tucks himself into the corner, forces Oskar to take the fight to him, and down he goes. And that one, just a little bit of miscommunication there. Beestick thought that E-Box was covered completely. Meanwhile, Quirtz is tucked, so he's not watching it whatsoever. That's a free kill on the one player with a rifle. And well, we tie things up here, 11 apiece. Sangal on the comeback train.
Yeah, we're tied up at 11. I never thought we'd see this, especially not on Anubis. After we had such a smooth start for Sinners, I figured, yeah, they probably are going to get this done. Sangal don't have the experience here to grind out a comeback, but they have managed to make it work. It's a decent buy, of course, from Sinners. Flashes again outside of A main. Shock's going to be backed up this time with a little bit of assistance so that they can get that control. Quirtz, I think, also pushed out through the B water there to confirm there was no one under the bridge, so they have a good read. They should know everyone's pretty much moving over towards B, but are they going to be ready as this hit comes forward is the question. While he's down trying to flush them into the open, but the smoke's still in play, so it's not a commitment yet from Sangal. I think they're actually expecting that the flanks likely coming in. As we can see for now, those Sinners are happy to just kind of keep the control they've taken and be ready to rotate quickly.
It's a tough one to hold, though. They're burning smokes by trying to hold this angle, and as Quirtz looks for the main peak, Panics is able to take him freely. The problem now is you've burnt all your smokes, holding that initial control, right? And as the T side go back for it late, kyuubii will have the high ground. There's a man in towards mid to offer even another angle onto this peak. It's going to take a monumental hold from the two lads who've pushed this. And there's the freebie. Youngster gets an absolute gift. kyuubii knows he's got the drop on Zedko as well. There's only so long that M4A1 can survive for. Zedko, he's a dead man walking. He does everything he can, but kyuubii deals with it down to half HP. It's a 2v3. Not done by any stretch of the imagination, but they've read the play perfectly, Sangal. Understood that those kills will have likely drawn the rotation out towards A, so Oskar, he's panicking to try and get his way back towards Speedway, back towards any kind of position where he can have impact. He will be posted up. The Molotov goes down. He's playing this desperately dangerously, though, knowing he's got to be the hero here. Big flashbang. Gets himself in. Gets a second inside of the molly. Oskar, vintage to buy his team half a chance, but it's a 1v1. And LNZ seems to have an inkling here. He knows where Beestick likes to play. There's no kit on Beestick either. He's got to work his way into this one. LNZ just has to hide, just has to bide his time, and he clutches up the 1v2. Sangal on map point, which we never thought we would see.
Yeah, after Oskar throws out a crazy 2k as well to give them some hope, it's just Beestick's rotation was so far away. It took him
too long
forever to get into position afterwards, and as you said, there was just a perfect read from LNZ. He knew exactly where Beestick was coming from. It's a fight for the overtime now for Sinners. I can't believe I'm saying that. They have pretty weak weaponry to make it happen. Sure, they have 3 M4s, but there's 2 MP9s. There's only a single kit. The nades are lacking completely on 3 players. Only Shock and Oskar were able to afford some, so yeah, they really need to get some early success, and that's exactly what they find. Zedko, I think, just charged in mid. Aggression outside B also came true, and the fight towards B is lost, as well as Quirt's getting shut down, or rather Zedko getting shut down on that mid aggression eventually. So what started off decently for Sinners is completely collapsed. LNZ
Two big fights.
not taken out either. I think just dinked up a bit.
Two big fights to lose, right? He needed one of the two to stay alive. Either Zedko needs to get a second kill there, or they need to quieten down on their aggression elsewhere. Not to be.
They are going back to the stack though.
How much can Shock get done is the question. MP9 is the right weapon for the job, but there's a lot of bodies headed his way. On the angle, nothing. And now oskar. Well, we've had some miracles. He's not on his favoured weapon. He's got it all to do, but he doesn't even want to peek it. The flashbang's perfect. Panics gets the kill. This one's going. A massive comeback from Sangal. A huge confidence builder here. As they are surely going to take this one. 13-11, a 9-3 half. The T side of Anubis starts to bite back. B-Stick, well, he's stuck behind a smoke that always seems to take just a second too long when you desperately want them to fade. Panic's pre-firing, gives the game away a little bit, takes the dink on the chin though, and there's so much more support. The bomb is so far ticked. This one, well, it's just about B-Stick popping his stats on the exits. It's another dink, but it won't be enough. It's 13-11. Sangal with the mother of all comebacks to drive us to a third map.
Absolutely crazy. I mean, we had a couple rounds like oskar towards the end, popping off individually to give them a closer round and nearly finally put it over the line, but they just weren't able to make it happen. They went completely